down here, and then we actually have the job.
Everyone, the meeting will start in 2 minutes, and if you have not signed in,
Excuse me. Ballot is closing. Please listen to the announcement.
if anyone has not turned in their limited ballot, please turn it in and sign in sheets. We will start the meeting in just a couple of minutes.
My understanding of the rules is that the ballot must be received by 10. Any ballots past 10 o'clock are not valid. If you have a ballot, turn them in now. You cannot vote after 10. Give me a warning.
We have some ballots back here.
They need to get up front.
You're right. We're all voting like it's a domino. Sorry.
And I would say we have 50 guys in Canada. That's a some guys come on. Apparently, I come down. It's only 2 weeks. Like weekend series, I weekends.
1 minute to get your ballot in, please. If you have an outstanding ballot, bring it in. I'm gonna go check the bathroom, make sure nobody's out there.
There's one chair available right here if you want to sit.
Could be.
Is this item? You haven't called the order yet, right?
No.
Okay, Jack.
There's nobody in the bathroom. I'm gonna check outside.
Did you take your wallet?
There's nobody outside.
Okay, the meeting is called to order at 10:03 or 4. Would you say 4? We're having a little trouble with the recording.
Just give me the old kind, old-fashioned kind with a cassette. Huh?
I want to welcome everyone here this morning. Glad to see that you could come. At this time, I'm turning over the chairmanship of this meeting to John Clayman.
All right, second on the agenda item is establish a quorum. We have a quorum present. Proof of notice was given.
Mr. Chairman, how do we know if the quorum is present?
A roll.
It's not a board member meeting, so how do we know if the quorum is present? Do we have a count from Shelton or somebody?
That's a good question. I guess we'll establish the quorum after the vote count. Okay.
We would need a proxy to know if we've got enough proxies or whatever to establish the quorum.
Quorum of the membership equals ballots.
Yes.
Okay, how many members is this quorum?
70.
70.
Are there 70 ballots sitting over there?
Those are being counted.
Or members present that didn't vote.
Combination, right?
Don't count.
Sure.
You can't have a meeting without the quorum, so are there 70 ballots?
All right, we
It's
will wait.
Sally or Sheldon have been handling that.
Is there 70 ballots back there?
Is there what?
Are there 70 ballots?
Can I ask why the ballots are not in the room to be counted?
Yeah.
So why aren't the ballots counted up front?
Well, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think
Count them
they
up
need to
front.
be counted and.
Yeah. I don't understand why ballots have to be taken away to be counted rather than counted at the
You
table.
can go back there if you like. It's got
Yeah,
a glass
why
window.
don't you,
Ellen, why don't
Join
you
them.
right there?
Anybody that wants to
anybody
watch
that
the
wants
ballot
to watch,
count,
go
go on
watch
back.
the count.
You're welcome to go back to. You're welcome.
Who are the counters? By name.
Karen.
Okay, Sally. Okay.
RODMICH.
Who else?
I don't know if Kelly's back there or not.
Let's go. Who's counting ballots?
Who's counting ballots? Don't know. We don't know where they are.
Sally and Shelton counting ballots.
That's it, Sally and
We have
Shelton.
65 into it, and we have to. I
Okay,
can't give you a specific count because we're gonna have to.
all right.
Do we have 70 represented either with a ballot or with the president?
Basically, there are two counters, and only the counters may touch the ballots. Okay, so anybody can go back there and watch,
Sure, great.
Okay.
but please, only two hands on the ballots.
Thank you.
All right, so we've established a quorum, established proof of notice. Item 4 is reading and disposal of any unapproved minutes. We are not at a point to approve any minutes at this meeting, so we are bypassing that.
Excuse me, just on a point of order on that, why would we not be approving minutes that were submitted?
They're not ready for the board to vote upon.
But the board's not voting, this is a members' meeting, so,
It technically shouldn't have been on there.
well, but it's a members' meeting, so owners are being represented here. The minutes that are, excuse me, I'm just bringing it up, I've got the floor for a moment. The issue is, there were minutes that were submitted from the last owners' meeting of May 18th. Those minutes should be approved by the owners. An illegal vote was taken in the January meeting by the board. The board does not approve those minutes. The owners approve the minutes. This is an owners' members' meeting. They can approve the minutes.
My guess is they'll approve them at the annual meeting on May 17th.
This is
So,
not an annual meeting.
Right.
but it's a members' meeting, so members
Right, but
could
it's
do
not the
that.
annual meeting, and that's where they also could vote to approve.
Okay,
That's where it
so
will
they'll be going out there, or they'll be passed out at that meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
Okay, what date meeting was that?
May the
May
17th.
17th,
May, that's coming, what minutes are
for the annual meeting of last year, I believe it was May 19th.
18th.
May 19th,
Or 18th.
18th, whatever,
Yeah.
minutes are due. That annual? On May what?
17th.
That's 2014.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where they would be approved, okay.
Now, let's just establish something right now, okay? At this point, you two are not on the board.
Well,
If there is binding arbitration, there is arbitration
there's
that's out
arbitration that
there.
is pending, that is correct, but this is not a board meeting, so.
That is correct, but you are sitting at the board table.
It's an open meeting, remember now, this is
Understood.
not a board meeting.
Right, but comments, you're not participating in those comments, so I will direct the recording secretary that any comments or votes, if any were to be taken, would not go in minutes.
All right, as a point of order, Mr. Parliamentarian, this is a members' meeting. This is not a board meeting.
Well, there's nothing on the agenda asking for a vote, so what's the argument about?
Well, no, I was just saying if there was any approval of any minutes or anything, it's done by the members.
Right, but that's not happening.
I understand. So
Okay, then we're done
it's not
talking
a
about it,
board-
right?
It's not a board meeting.
Okay, that's fine, it's not a board meeting, it's a member meeting, and that's clear. Here you go.
So at this point, we're waiting on the count of the vote. There was a sign-up sheet for comments for the special meeting and a sign-up sheet for comments for the board meeting that follows immediately after the vote count. Since there's really no items on here to be discussed, everybody will get the option to make their comments at the start of the next meeting. We will do those comments up front before we address any of the business issues, okay? So at this point, we're going to, do I have a motion to recess?
I make a motion to recess.
Is it seconded? Okay, all in favor? We're going to
All
recess.
opposed, all opposed, nay. This is a members' meeting.
Okay, well, first of all, you can't grab the chair.
I understand that it's a members' meeting.
Because
Excuse me, can you introduce the people at the table?
He only asked for all those in favor, okay? You're not allowed to grab the chair and then scream and yell what's gonna go on.
Excuse me, Mr. Martin.
I'm the parliamentarian appointed by the board, and I'm the recording secretary.
When did that
Okay, this
take
is a
place?
members
This is
meeting.
a
Why are
members
you
meeting.
telling members what they can
Be-
and can't do?
Because the members' meeting still is being chaired, and the chair cannot have someone come and go, all right, now who's against it?
Okay, but that's
It's
what
a
you're
point of
doing.
order. There is no-
As
He
parliamentarian,
didn't get there yet. Okay, he asked for a aye. That vote was taken, and you immediately jumped to a nay. So let the chair do that.
Are you on the board? I'm trying to decide why you're.
I'm the
trying to
recording
do this.
secretary and parliamentarian.
as appointed.
As appointed by who?
Who are you? And what's your name?
I'm a
I'm
homeowner
Brent.
and I'm asking a question and I would like to know who this person is. You have not introduced me.
Well, I've been
You
here
haven't
3
told me
meetings.
role. Well, I still don't know you. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay, I don't know you.
Okay, but you're directing
All right.
orders, so we would like to know who you are and what your role is.
Let's
That's
hold on just a
Let's go
minute,
back to the
please.
vote. Go to the vote.
Okay, see, again,
I'm just saying.
no direction from the floor until the chair has a chance. Please.
Everybody is responsible for following Robert's rules. That's part of the ownership of these condos. So we don't speak out of order. The chair will recognize you, all right? We've called for a vote for a recess until the vote count is done. And I said, all in favor, aye. All in favor against the recess, please say nay.
Nay. No.
So we will sit here until the vote counts.
Well, since we have, Mr. Chairman,
There you go.
Mr. Chairman, since we have the opportunity to speak on agenda items and people have signed up, why don't we use this time, since we're not in recess, to go ahead and let people speak?
I think there's nothing on this agenda that's commented.
He's suggesting that you,
Let people speak. We don't know what they want to talk about. What if they
I
want to
think
talk about this?
parliamentarily, from a parliamentarian's point of view, I think going into recess, starting the next meeting and finishing it could possibly happen. But you need the ballots counted.
Exactly.
So,
Because there are issues here that are under new business, or that we're giving people the opportunity to speak, because it is a members' meeting, we're all members right now.
a recess would be in the best interest, and the comments during recess would be valid.
No, if it's a members' meeting, then all I'm saying is, Mr. Chairman, let the people speak now while we're spinning our wheels. Why not?
Vote on it. Save some time.
Hold on.
Okay, go here, do this. Make a motion to amend the agenda.
I move that, no, there's a term for it, it's not amending the agenda, it is,
Place something on the agenda out of order, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I
We know what you're doing.
Yes, I move that we reorder the agenda, or save the agenda, I forget how to say it, but it's reordering the agenda to allow for comments now
Comments on what?
on any item they would like to on this agenda or outside of this agenda.
Okay, and when the ballot, how long do you want that to go on?
Well, I got a motion, so
No, your motion is, what, everybody get 3 minutes or what?
sure, we've given 3 minutes. in
Yes,
advance.
so make that,
And everybody gets 3 minutes if they like to speak.
okay,
Well, we've got a sign-up sheet.
right.
That's
There it
the
is.
opportunity.
Okay, so there's,
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
well, that, let the chair ask.
We have the motion to use the time while the votes are being counted to allow for the member comments who signed up. Correct?
That's correct.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Let's-
All right. So we'll take these in the order in which you signed in. You've got 3 minutes to make comments.
Is there a second? No.
You have 3 minutes to make comments. The comments need to be germane to the agenda items. Okay?
This one counts too.
You got it as part of the notice.
There's other ones too.
Right, this is for this.
That's for the
So Zachary Bernino?
Oh, wait a minute, before I start,
Yes.
I asked specifically, I said, if there's two different lists, this one is budget, this one was general.
This is,
agenda. So are we dealing with budget first or general agenda?
Actually, the agenda,
The first part of the meeting was to close all.
well, it's only 3 minutes of comments. Why don't you just,
yeah,
We'll make your comments to either,
to this,
and we'll go through both lists. So you can
Okay.
make your comments on either agenda item.
Okay, again, I'm Zach Perdino, Unit 75, and I'm the proxy. My wife is the signator, but I got general permission to talk and to vote. The one thing that sticks out in my mind when I went through the budget is the way reserves are calculated. Now, in the past, we've been very consistent in how we do things and how we accounted for years of useful life. In this particular budget, we dramatically changed the way we calculate useful life. And when we do that, we've increased the amount of reserves that are required by a significant amount, in fact, double what they should be for this period. So I fully object to doing that because one of two things occur. One is that you either made this change consciously to get more reserves, or you've been fooling us for several years in how the reserves should be established. So there is no other answer to it. The other thing is I also object to the way in the budget, the way we're increasing the budget for salaries is astronomical. The GP, the gross national product and the CPI have only increased by 2%, and we're looking to give 19% increases. Now, I'm not adverse to giving a decent increase to somebody, but not 19%, okay? Which also extrapolates to 38%, which I don't understand in the tax calculations. So we need to take a better look at that before we vote on a budget that doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Is that for both? Any other comments? This is for both.
That's enough.
Okay, thank you. The question is, there's two people counting votes. Does anybody else want to be a witness back there? If so, please speak up.
there's a chair.
There's a chair, you can sit and watch. Totally up to you. Speak now.
Marty Stiles has a lot of experience in this. That was her. Okay. Is there anyone else that would volunteer?
I'll be.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Castle.
Castle, unit number 27, I am on the board. And a couple good questions you had. Why do we have $100,200 in the 100% budget for the roof when we had a bid of $280,000 and have $262,000 in there? That means we needed $18,000, not $100,000. Why do we have $146,550 budgeted for the pool? Are we replacing one of them this year? Okay. Couple other things. The board currently has 3 complaints and 3 arbitrations coming up. You know that if you lose the arbitration, that the election is voided, and you are costing the association a lot of money for the new election and through DBPR. And I'd like to know if we had to pay Mr. Connor to file the motion, which DBPR turned down, and he has to refile it. Now, you're trying to disqualify board members. Amendment A states if a director shall cease to meet such qualification during his or her term. I remodeled my unit, and I'm disqualified for the board for remodeling my unit? Can I see a set of hands for everybody who's remodeled their
We're not
units?
taking a vote, these are comments.
Raise your hand.
I was
Order, one person has the chair.
I was qualified to run for the board 2 years ago, and I'm not now because I remodeled my unit 4 years ago, according to this board. A director or an officer who's 90 days delinquent in payment is off the board, or recall you're off the board, or if you're convicted of a felony. I got none of those. 7.2 states we have to repair, maintain, and replace all portions of our unit that are not maintained by the association. Cabinets, painting and stuff. I'd like for them to pay for it. You know, because, and then 7.3 says the owner cannot make any alterations, additions, or removals in a portion of a unit that are to be maintained by the association. They're not maintaining anything in mine. There is nothing in there states you cannot remodel your unit. And to Ms. Julene, the DEP permit number 4 states a brief description of the proposed work, activity, or construction for our walkway to the beach. That's what the permit is for. Work, activity, or construction. You submit it, they will tell us what we can do out there. And the other thing is, they're doing all this stucco work and seal coating. The stucco work, I don't know who authorized that, because we're going to probably have to repaint all the buildings because you're not going to be able to match it. Did we get RFPs on that? And the seal coating, and why are we going to seal coat if we're supposedly going to vote on the drainage, where we're going to have to tear up part of the driveways?
Yeah. All right, Kurt Musser.
My name is Kurt Musser, unit number 80. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Some of you are wondering why I'm talking quickly because I'm on the clock. If you're wondering why we're doing this, in April instead of at the annual meeting, it's because a result of the complaint I filed with DPPR that said that they did not pass a budget in 2013. They've been cited by DPPR that they have to come up with a budget in 60 days. That's why you're doing this before the election. She will tell you, based on emails, that this is all our fault. That the owners are responsible for the failure of the budget. Do not believe that. By the statutes and the bylaws, the board members that voted last year for the special assessment, instead of voting for the budget supplement, they have the obligation to vote. If the owners do not approve the budget, they have the right and the authority as a board to vote to approve a budget supplement up to 115% of the current budget. They did not do that. They did it in the special assessment. That's why they have been cited by the DPPR and by her own admission in Amendment A, since it is, quote, self-actuating by violating the statutes and the bylaws. The 3 who voted for that special assessment in lieu of the budget supplement are in a violation of Amendment A, and therefore you are disqualified from being on the board. And I want it on record to know that you are disqualified from the board in accordance with Amendment A.
Ruth Hill.
Is she?
Good morning, Ruth Hill, Condo 113. I feel something's been overlooked, and that is Steve Merrick, through a great deal of work, care and concern, researched into our finances, etc., and happened to find $40,000 that seemed to appear from somewhere. It had disappeared at one point and it had reappeared, obviously. Now, our accountant firm didn't seem to know this $40,000 existed. And number one, I'd like to know why. And number two, I would like a formal letter of thanks to Steve Merrick. I think this board is very quick to castigate people, and I think Steve Merrick should have a formal letter of thanks for a lot of hard work and concern in finding $40,000. It's not pigeon food. It's an important sum of money. Thank
you. Ray Davis.
Hi, I'm Ray Davis. Know most of the folks in the room here. Since it is on the agenda, I'd like to talk about the budget and the reserve funding that was being proposed at 25%. Background, last year, it did not pass. Neither one of the proposed resolutions passed 100% or 50%. So when that did not pass, we attempted to come in and put some thought as to how to properly put a budget together. That did not take place. We were voted down in that approach. We're on the recording trying to state about 115% that you can't pass a budget without a vote of all the owners, and you have to get a majority, which is 70 owners. That did not take place. We were voted down on that. This year, when I received it, lo and behold, we're showing a roof reserve budget again at 500 and I'm going to say 75, 570 something. Yet Jim Mahurtis, sitting here in the middle of the room, presented 3 bids, one of which was below 300,000. Another one was above 300,000, or maybe the other 2 were, but they were with the 130 mile per hour hurricane type shingles. He participated in one call with a GAF representative with John to send out an RFP. We sent out an RFP back in the first quarter of this year. Haven't heard anything about that. But how can we put in a reserve fund of $575,000 when we know we can get it done for less than that? I just question what's in this budget.
Ellen Purticone.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Ellen Purticone, Ocean Villas 112. Some of you have signed this, and for those of you who have not, I'd just like to make you aware of what I am proposing. I'd like to put something on the agenda for the May meeting. What I'd like to put on the agenda for the May meeting is a discussion, merely a discussion as a topic of having the board and Ocean Villas communicate with us owners who don't all live here via email. Yes, email. So if you like the idea of opening up a discussion, please sign this form later after the meeting, and then we can get it on the agenda. And those of you who do sign it, then you'll know that that's something that will not be brushed under the carpet, and it will be discussed. The second thing I'd like to bring up very briefly is that, and this does pertain to the budget and a 90% raise for our CAM, I am so glad we brought that up. I think that is a wonderful idea. In fact, I think we should take a very close look at our CAM. What I would like to propose is that we have full disclosure of our CAM, any business they're affiliated with, any employees they're affiliated with, our tenant, Resort Rental, any kind of financial relationship between Resort Rental, their guests, our employees of Ocean Villa, and our CAM, and any corporations that they're involved with. I'm only asking for full disclosure because, see, we pay for that CAM. And that CAM might be working for somebody else on our time. Might not, but it could be. So I think it's fair to ask for full disclosure. And that will be my next project. So it's our money, we're paying for it. You don't want to pay twice for something that's not getting done. Thank you.
Here.
That was all on the list for special members meeting. We're going to move on to the third list, which was the board meeting. A couple people are duplicates, but if you wanted to speak, we've got the time, assuming the vote is not done. Remzi, we still counting?
Yes.
So we're going to go on to there's 3 people on the board meeting sign up. First one is Scott Castle.
I did forget a couple things on my last one. I have filed another complaint with BBPR because of our financial situation. One of them is our lawsuit reserves. I gave the information through the board and through our CPA, and we're supposed to have under our lawsuit reserve, it's supposed to be broken down into the different categories. Gene Benton cannot do it, Richard Waller cannot do it. They do not know where those lawsuit funds are. And I have looked, I've tried to figure it out, I can't. DBPR is looking into this now. And, you know, as I said, you know, through our budget, they said James, Gene, Julene, John Clayman, and our CPA reviewed it, went over all of this as far as our budget goes. Why did we have the $100,000 in there for the roof reserve, such as Ray said? You know, why do we have $146,000 for reserve for the pool? The pool, both pools, if we tore them out and replaced them, is $300,000. They're putting $146,000 into it. This is at the 100% budget. They're using figures that they think are going to get by us, and they're not. I mean, we do have a little bit of smarts, and I think this thing needs to be reviewed properly, and they're supposed to be getting a company in May to review this, and I guarantee you it's not going to be what they put down.
Kurt Musser.
Once again, from you today, with regards to the budget, I have a couple of things. One, you'll notice it's conspicuously absent from all of these items in the budget. Everything seems to be going up. And if you've attended any of the last several meetings, there have been several owners who have gone out and gotten proposals for items that would be cost savings to this budget, not cost additions. But nowhere in the people who got together, that put this budget together, at no time did they ever seek any advice or help from other owners who have expertise in the area of budgeting, who have stepped forward and said that they'd be willing to sit down and help. Just like with me and the RFP for roofing. I've never been contacted. I've spent my career doing contracts and construction management. That's what I do for a living. That RFP that went out in January, there were so many mistakes with that we would have been screwed as an organization, as an association, that had gone out for bid. Since that has happened, notice there's been dead silence. Nothing has happened. They refuse to look for expertise and help from people who live here, who have done and spent their entire careers in subjects that we need to cover. And instead of cost savings, all we do is get cost increases in the budget. Look, we can say no to the budget. They don't need us for that, because by the statutes, they can go up to 115% of the budget. They're doing this for show, for their viewpoints, their agenda. They don't care what you think. Those of you who have sat on the sidelines all this time and have not stood up and had your vote counted, you need to stand up. You need to have your vote counted. You have a voice. There are 138 owners. The majority of the owners do not want 2 of those individuals on this board. And we are this close to officially being able to have them recalled. If you haven't voted, we need your vote now. You need to speak as an owner, because you have a voice in what happens. And we have the chance to make this the best owner-renter condominium association in St. Augustine Beach. Thank you.
Right, that's the end of the comments. At this point, we will wait until the vote is tallied.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
a motion, we take a recess for 15 minutes.
Motion has been made to take a recess, assuming until the vote is completed.
Or for 15 minutes, whatever.
All right. Motion's been made to take a recess for 15 minutes. Is it seconded?
I second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of a recess for 15 minutes, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we'll reconvene in 15 minutes.
This person just called me a loudmouth, and am I paying for him to be here?
Probably.
Because I'm willing to speak up?
Yeah. I would like to see a list of what we're paying.
I don't even know who his character is.
I would like to see, if the board is representing the owners, I'd like to see a raise of hands for everyone who was asked whether they wanted to vote off Ray or Scott. Was anyone asked?
Nope.
Why did the board that represents us vote off Scott and Ray?
What did three people?
I'm not a rebel rouser, I'm not trying to cause problems, I'm very confused about that. Well, I'm not on the agenda. That's my
DPR
bad.
investigations are done. What's gonna happen is we're wasting our time here, this will all be invalidated. Just like the vote in May. When you get your ballot for the owners meeting in May, if Bill Schaefer and Scott Castle are on the ballot, when the DPR gets done, this election will be invalidated, and we'll have to redo it again, and guess who's paying for it? Trust me, it will be invalidated, because if they're not on the ballot, and you're not allowed to vote for that, and they have expressed that they wish to be on the ballot, this election will be invalidated. These are the people that again. These are the people who can blame. You know, their unilateral actions against the statutes is the reason why this is going to be redone. Trust me, I've done the numbers. They're in violation, and they're going to be found in violation. They had our lawyers, we paid our lawyers to write an opinion on the arbitrations to say that the arbitration wasn't valid and it was denied, and that she had no choice but to respond. And in that response, she's got to provide her reasoning behind why she removed them. And the arbitrator is going to find that's invalid. So the election in May is going to be invalid. We're going to do this again, folks. Trust me. You heard it.
Do we know who's on the ballot?
Well, until you get it, if there are not 7 names on that ballot, then it's not going to be a ballot. If his name is not on the ballot and Bill Schaefer's name is not on that ballot, there will be another election because the DPR investigation will determine that she removed them illegally, and therefore they will be required to be put back on the ballot, and so we're going to have to vote again. That's going to happen, and we're paying for that.
Kurt, a lot of us don't know. Why would they remove?
Oh, I'll tell you, because I remodeled my unit.
Inside.
They found them.
Inside.
And so did Ray?
Oh, so did Ray and so did Bill. That's why Ray was removed and Bill's ineligible because of it. And there is nothing in our documents that say you gotta get board approval. And then they want an architect. Well, if you take anything down to City Hall, you can draw it up yourself as long as it's to their specifications. And you don't need an architect. Why are you gonna spend
In other words, you
$1,500?
cannot paint our unit?
Inside video pictures of every board member's home. So that if anyone does anything in their house,
Amendment
that's
A.
the only fair thing to do.
Right, Amendment A is going to be thrown out because it is invalid. Florida statutes say the only way a board member can be removed is recall, which is going on, is by if you commit a felony or larceny against the association, a felony anywhere, basically embezzlement from the association, or if you are 90 days, if you're 90 days late in your dues, you're automatically off the board, but if you catch up, you can be put back to the board.
Well, I think to be fair, we need photographs of everyone's inside.
No, because that's not going to be, that's going to be
That's not
voided.
fair to eliminate
7.2 and 7.3 say nothing about having to get board approval. We have owners who've been here for years. Have any other plans been brought in front of the board other than Unit 50? And the only reason that one is my son is the contractor. He took over my company and he's remodeling it. And if you go over there, it's probably the nicest place in here.
I beg your pardon.
Second nicest, I'm sorry. But that's the only reason that went through there. Unless you get into the common elements, which could be a pipe chase or a bearing wall, that's the only time you have to get approval through the board. It is your home, you can do what you want inside of there. What's that? If you're on the second floor, all you have to do is you got to use a sound barrier, which is a ProFlex 90, which you put down, and then you're under the guidelines there. That's the only approval you need from the board, or if you get into common elements. And that's it.
Can I just say on that, We of course lived overseas for the last umpteen amount of years. And anyway, we bought here over 10 years ago, and we were living overseas at the time, so we rented through Resort Rentals, because Paul did all the conveyancing of the condo and all that sort of thing, Paul Kiernan of Resort Rentals. And we wanted the place sorted out. I wanted cabinets taken out and various things done, repainted. I wanted the popcorn ceiling, of course, matched up and that type of thing. But of course, I'm a Brit. I'm from Northern Ireland. We do things differently, so we needed help. And actually, Paul at Resort Rentals and Sally and a few others here helped us do all that work. I couldn't have done it otherwise. I knew nobody here. We knew absolutely nobody here. So at no point in my conveyancing, or at no point during the 10 years I rented through Resort Rentals, was I ever told, you cannot do this without board approval. Furthermore, when we did do our updates, we changed the bathroom. Granted, we just did like for like. We did not, knock down walls or anything at all like that. We just replaced like for like. Even the kitchen cupboards, the doors were replaced like for like. And in all of that, whenever they came to take photographs to put on the website and so on to rent the place, nobody at any point said, you need board approval for this.
Excuse me,
So-
number 41?
Yes.
I think they need you in the back room.
Let me just say
So,
one.
just on that, so if I'm going by the advice that I have been given, I don't need board approval for anything cosmetic. So
When we-
I don't even understand why this is even an issue now. I'm talking about being confused.
It's not. When I moved in 4 years ago, we moved in, I think it was like August, October, we started remodeling. I went into James, asked him what we needed to do. He said, the only thing you gotta do is get Proflex 90, for the sound barrier or something comparable to it, because we took up carpet and put down tile. Very simple. He even said, I said, what about a construction debris? I want to bring a dumpster. And he says, you don't need to do that. Put your stuff out the day, now again, they've changed it since then. Put your construction stuff out the day they pick up the dumpster so you don't fill them up. And I said, what about cabinets? He says, put them on the side and we will break them down for you. He did all that. Never said anything, oh, you gotta go through the board or anything else, which you don't have to do, but nothing was ever said.
So
This
you're telling me you were advised by our local
Pam,
resident
yes,
to do this work,
yes,
and yet you were denied a seat on the board because of that?
yes. I went to City Hall and told them exactly what, as a builder, I'm gonna pull my permit. They said, if it's cosmetic, you don't have to do it. You do any plumbing, electric, or anything else, the subcontractors will pull it. So anything cosmetic that you do in your unit, normally you do not need to, you can go down to City Hall, they'll tell you what you do or don't need to do. And they actually came by after my unit was done and did a courtesy inspection as a builder. So, I know, if you, as I say, if you put up a show of hands, which I don't want to see, almost everybody in here has remodeled their units. And I know of a board member that has done something also to their unit. And it was never brought in front of the board, which you don't need to do. It's your home.
From 1985, something.
About a month ago.
The end of March.
Right. So a lot of these things that Ray and Scott are talking about has been handled and is being handled. We have a reserve specialist, Drews Isaac Associates, is coming in the middle of May. They will give us a definitive report on our reserve needs and the replacement costs and so forth that's going on. We don't have the information at this time, but we should have it indefinitely in time for next year's budget. That's the reason we went with the 25% funding this year, because of the controversy over the reserve. We want someone from outside agency that specializes in reserve accounts and replacement cost and so forth to give us these definitive answers.
That's not what you did, Joe.
But
You did the reserve at 25%, but you increased the reserve quality by 50%. You didn't.
Okay, I must explain something. if you look at your reserve account, you will see things like pools, railings, fences, all in one account. Each of these had a replacement time that's different from each other. If you look at painting, waterproofing, and woodwork, all of these have different replacement time schedules. You have paving, patching, and sealing. To repave this whole parking lot will cost far more than just patching and resealing. There's so much that goes into the reserve account to determine what the replacement cost and the time span in which we have to do it.
Jolene, let me just do my illustration, and then you can explain how that makes sense. 2010-11, 6 years replacement. 12-13, 6 years replacement. 14-15, 0.
For what item?
Paving, patching, and sealing. It went from 6 years to 0. Okay? I wanted to pick out key ones because they're all different. Lagoons, walkways, 42, 41, 7. Elevators, 21, 20, 12. Elevators, 11, 20, went up and then back down to 12. Okay? You got elevator 3, north side, 21, 22, 12. By dropping them down to those numbers, you've inflated the reserve calculation for this budget.
Over the years, we've had various people come in and assess our
Okay, but
replacement
who made
values.
the determination?
And at that particular time,
Who made the determination to drop them to these levels? If you're gonna have the man come in after the budget.
The board and our CPA.
What?
The board and our CPA.
Well, the CPA has no qualification to do that, and neither does the
That's why
board.
we have to ask.
You should follow a consistent pattern.
The CPA,
If you're gonna take my money, follow a consistent pattern.
the CPA takes information given to them.
By you.
No, not by me.
By who?
By people that are brought in to assess our roofs, to assess various,
Well, that's not true. We know that's not true. Somebody just reported that the roofing was off by almost $200,000.
we
I'm not even
also,
questioning, I'm not even
Okay.
questioning the value, okay? Maybe questioning the value. Assume the values are correct. The 1.445, whatever the number is correct. I'm gonna assume that. But you changed the life, your life expectancy by 50%.
well, you will
And
also,
you should not be doing that. This is another accounting practice. It's consistent. It should be consistent.
we have had various people over the years give us
Well,
their assessment.
That's fine.
And that is what
Okay.
our accountant has used.
All right.
We are
Well-
tired of getting various responses through the years. That's the reason we have hired Drews, Isaac, and Associates to come in and give us a
Okay,
definitive report.
I fully
That's
agree with
final.
that, Jody.
We are,
I fully agree with that. But you're telling us to pay you this year based on something they're gonna do for next year.
25%.
25%?
Rather, the state requires that we fund these at 100%.
Well,
We're giving you the option to fund it at a lesser amount.
okay, but let's do it in a consistent pattern.
That's what we're working toward.
Well, no, you didn't. You
Yes,
didn't.
we are working toward
Look,
that.
the total of the 11 categories, I'm not stopping, the total of 11 categories was 148 replacement years. The way you calculated it, it's 64 replacement years. There's a big, big difference in what you're asking us to put up in money, period. And that relates to value of property. If somebody had to sell their property today, after you do this, they're gonna have to extrapolate the payments into the property value. I'm gonna guess it drops the property values about $20,000.
But they're
And a
dropping
sale.
every day.
No, they're not dropping every day, they're going
What's
up.
going on here, they're dropping every day. Our values are dropping every
I
day.
don't know what country you're in.
Paul, to your question about the water, I just want to come back. Barry is doing the testing of the water to see if that would cause the pipe failures. When I asked, about the grounding, that was being done because of Barry. We ought to thank Barry for at least trying to eliminate cause and effect, or to say what could be causing, or do we just have bad copper? from 1983 or whenever. And we contacted some additional plumbers to your specific question, and they are replacing it up and down at various other locations. This board likes to go check with other associations, so we actually have another plumber to come in and give a bid, but to see the two configurations, difference between flats on the ground floor versus flats on the upper floors, and the two-story townhomes. We're trying to get a better idea of what is the cost to do the portion that you're responsible for. If the board chooses not to do the part that's under the slab and in the common element, which would be foolish, but there's an issue there. You can write the board if you want to do that, much in the same way that Mr. Skinner did for number 50, so that they could replace all of theirs. But Barry's results on the water, I have not seen it, but we're going to try and find out, could the city water be a problem that is hastening the demise of our copper pipes internally? With the exception of the folks down in the front building who have had some leaks underneath their slab. There have been 2 leaks in number 31, as I recall. Most of the leaks are coming out of the ceilings, out of the attics, that for those people that are on the upper floor. And so those folks that live on the 3rd floor in the flats, actually their cost to do it is going to be less, because you can go up in the attic, you're not drilling walls, you're not doing anything. But it's your expense to take care of everything inside, and the association, as Scott said, has to take care of the part that's in the common element, either the chases, to Jim's question, under the slab, whatever. And we've gotten some neat ideas of how to approach maybe not even cutting our slabs. We learned from one of the units below us that they figured out a way to do it at much less expense. It costs the people in number 50 a little over $2,000 just for slab cutting. And they found a way maybe to do it without having to do all that.
Ray, can you clarify, is Barry doing this as a volunteer of his own time?
Yes, he's had leaks. He's had
Let's
leaks.
clarify this, because he is not sanctioned by any board, if I'm not, okay, I wanted to clarify that. He is a concerned owner who's got years and years of
He's an
talent.
engineer. He's an engineer.
And he is taking his own time. He's been in my unit when I wasn't here. I gave him authorization to test or whatever. I think this man ought to get a medal, and I don't understand why our board is not tapping into the talent that's here with people that have the desire, the talent, and the experience.
Some of, he's also found that some of the buildings have not had any leaks, and there have been some, more leaks in certain buildings. So it's kind of a hit and miss, but again, a lot of it could be the grounding. And if we put a committee together, they could be researching all this. He would head it up. Jim Mahurtis is an engineer, I think by trade. Kurt is an engineer. Bill Amy is an engineer. I mean, also, I'm a contractor and developer. I can handle drainage and put, everything together. So, with these committees, we got finance people, Marty, we got, I know a CPA, and, Steve, and, we could have a finance committee to, be doing a lot of this stuff. But, as a board, that we do not have time to look at everything. But if you have committees broken down, they report back to the board, and guess what? It's not that it's making our job easier, we're using expertise.
Is there a resistance to committees? I've never been on a board where you don't take advantage of the talent of the people that live within your own community.
Thank you.
Jim, I sent a letter to Jolene about a year ago asking for email, asking for committees. And my response to her, and it's on email and I do have it, from her to me, was that based on past history, it is just not working out with committees. And that's not something that they want to participate in.
Look at our landscape committee, that was gorgeous, and it was disbanded.
A board that does not use committees to help itself during the year is completely ineffective.
It's delinquent in its responsibility.
No,
it's not used.
You have to. Three people cannot do everything.
Jim, were you part of a committee?
May I respond to that?
Yes, were you part of it?
Okay, you asked me to be part of the committee. You asked me, you were in charge. You said, Jim, can you give me an RFP? I gave you an outline of what an RFP should be. That is the last you consulted. You gave me, after you were finished, you gave me your RFP. Not my RFP, your RFP. And I came and I took issue with a lot of those items verbally, in emails, and even talked about it to other people in the complex.
My recollection was the,
Let me finish. The RFP that you did was completely inappropriate to get the right price for the job. You went to a manufacturer and asked the manufacturer of a roofing product to give us an RFP for our roofs. What did he spec? He spec'd the best of everything that he provides. Not as competition, not open to anybody else, but strictly what he provides. So what are you going to get? You're going to get a closed spec for a particular manufacturer, and you're at his mercy, whatever he's charging. And I made a comment to that. But, so yeah, was I supposed to be on your committee? I was. Was I actually utilized? Was my expertise? No, not at all. What
about me? I volunteered for that committee and you never contacted me.
you are correct. Thank you.
I only have 30 years. I only have 30 years. I guess you gotta have 31 to be qualified.
Thank you, Kurt. I know you're the
That was
only
last
person I
year, Kurt,
qualified.
you got
I want to hear your reason. And in the last meeting, I told you that RFP was messed up. Did you make any attempt to reach out to me to ask me why?
The purpose of the RFP was to see how close our reserve.
Oh, no. You do not put out an RFP unless you plan to issue a contract.
Beg to differ with you.
Then why did you put it out? So in the last meeting, you could look good to the owners by saying, I put out an RFP?
There were hold on. Yes. That's right. We got prices that range from 324 to a high of 475,000.
Because it was a terrible RFP.
It was a horrible RFP.
At the meeting, I told you about wind mitigation report. I saw you write it down. Did you tell him? No, you didn't say a word. If you have a wind mitigation report done on your roofing job, the insurance company is mandated by the state to reduce your insurance premium. And that wasn't even done. Don't you want to save some money?
No. Hold on. It's not a free-for-all. Okay, we're in recess. And we're in recess. We're not in recess. That's right. But there's still some important to be made clear. Wind mitigation is on our list. It has not been lost track of.
I have been here, how long have I been here trying to tell you that I'm here to help do this the right way? And you refuse to accept. You refuse to have committees who use owners who have expertise in areas that can save this association money. And you refuse to do that. And these owners want to know why. We don't know what your motivation is. Are you just trying to...
They have no motivation at all. We've had another year with nothing done.
This is about self-serving interest in your friends, in protecting what's being done without looking for ways to save money.
She asked a question.
Go ahead, it's
Would the
open.
landscaping committee be
No.
resumed?
Of course not. So everybody, you just saw the answer. No. But here's the situation. You need to vote for the board members in May. Just remember that, because the board can't establish a committee, and it can be reopened again. And to what Jim said about having committees, it can be done. But we just heard something. We just heard that when I spoke, that there's $570,000 still shown in this current budget for a roof. And we just heard that we received bids back in the 300 to 400,000 range. Why did we still put in? But why did we still put in $570,000? If we have bids under that, it makes no sense. And that's what's the fallacy of what's.
No.
And we had bids of $280,000
Oh,
through
yeah.
Jim's contractor.
Yeah.
And I would not get my people because I felt it was a conflict of interest, which has been going on around this place.
And if I could say something, the bid I got for $280,000 was more comprehensive, meaning doing more work than what even the RFP that Mr. Linger put out.
And a qualified contractor that is qualified through the manufacturer, which guarantees labor and materials at $282,000 or so.
I just had a very calm and civil discussion in the back about voting issues with signatures. I spoke with Shelton, and I've been promised that I will get a list of how your signature is supposed to be signed on your votes. I'm going to put that in the newsletter so that when you sign your vote, like my husband and I both signed a document that was invalid because only he should have signed it. So you need to know how to vote before May, which signatures are supposed to be on the vote, and I've been promised that I will have that list. I'm going to send it out. If you have a problem with it, you need to call immediately and change it before the vote so that no votes are thrown out.
Via mail or email?
I'm going to do it via email, and if you do not have an email and you have to have snail mail, I'm not sure who's going to pay for that. Maybe it'll go in one of these.
I tell you what, we'll pass that.
We'll pass the hat.
Yeah, you need to let somebody know if you don't check email. But at least we'll have a better count, because I know a lot of people are concerned about their votes getting thrown out. They have agreed that that needs to be addressed. And so as soon as I get that, I will send it out to you.
Joe, did they give you a date when they're going to get it to you by?
Well, I said ASAP, so I'm hoping that's going to be within the next week.
I would guess a date, a specific date.
So they need to know 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would see if we can get a
Have they thrown out any signatures because they don't recognize?
Yes.
Yes, they have.
Yes.
Well, I think in your email, you should require each owner to get their signature
Validated.
validated. With a notary public.
There are 2 or 3 signatures in there this morning
Nobody's
that
going to
are
do that.
thrown out.
I did.
Well,
It's generally free.
Well, this is what we probably need to do then. On all votes, you need to put it in print and then sign it. Because even in print, I believe legally with your signature, that is a legal signature. So if you have messy handwriting like my husband, who should have been a doctor, you cannot read anything he writes, put
What
your
I'm
prints in
concerned
there.
about is whatever you got on file is what they're gonna match it against.
Well, we're
And
gonna
people's
tell you.
handwriting changes.
Well, what they're saying is if you're John R. Doe and you write John Doe, your signature shouldn't be thrown out because you left out R. That's probably not even legal anyway. But just to cover the bases, we want to let you know that your signature is John R. Doe. When you sign that vote, it better say John R. Doe and not Jane Doe, your wife, John R. Doe. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, so we're going to try and clear that out. They've agreed, it's a very civil, amicable conversation, and I hope to have that this week, and I will make time in my busy schedule to do that.
May I point
Because
out
I want peace.
that every annual meeting packet that has ever been sent out has had these in there. The instructions, and if someone's voter certification is not on record, they are sent a voter certification to send back to the office.
So
Every year, all of these voter certifications are going through, and if there are not any valid ones there, they are sent voter certification to be redone and sent back. Because lots of times people change. For an example, a husband is a certified voter this year, they change it to the wife. If the husband is a certified voter, he's the one who has to vote. His wife cannot vote it. If they want to change it, they have to send in a new voter certification. This is done every year.
Well, let me ask you this, Julie, because I know everybody's been getting a lot of mail and everybody's tired of reading it. So if you can just put that section, if you're making your notes on the board, Shelton, I don't care who does it, put those directions in a couple of paragraphs. I will put that in the email along with the signature. Is
Like I
everyone okay with that?
said, in every annual meeting packet that's ever gone out for the last
Okay, but
33
we want it
years.
in email as owners. Can we please have that? Because I know you know how to
Yes.
use email.
Yes, but
Joan?
I get the impression that people don't think that this is being done, and it is being done.
That's why we wanted to go the extra mile, so they'll know that you are listening and doing what they ask.
And Joan, but to this, since we've been told that it's always been done,
Yes.
we need to thank Mr. Bill Amy for determining that we did not have an owner list. We had a mailing list, not an owner list, because some of the condos are owned by trust, some are owned by limited liability corporation, some are owned by more than one individual with not having the same last name, they are not married. And we have since learned that we didn't have all that together. And so as a result, we have the new Bill Amy voter certification sheet that has now been adopted by our office. And you will see that there's a place for individuals, if it's individuals, a place for corporation to sign, meaning their directors or their officers of the corporation sign, and designate a voter, because the owner is the corporation. And then down at the bottom is a place for trust. There are a lot more trusts. But when you sign it, if you're a trustee and you're one of the people associated with that trust, then you put the designation trustee behind it. So Bill, I thank you for getting us straightened out on that. Rather than I have votes thrown out or anything like that, this is a good thing.
Yeah, let's all work together
Yeah.
to make sure that everyone feels it's a fair process.
One of the-
Everyone seems to be in agreement with that, so I'm going to wait for those two emails, one with the directions, one with the list.
If you will contact DBPR, if you are a husband and wife, you do not need a designated voter. Either one can sign the ballot.
Is that right?
That is correct.
Can you get that in writing and we'll send that out, because
Absolutely.
if that's true, y'all need to honor that.
Absolutely. Bill?
And I would like to see information come to us when folks are discarded. When we have a meeting and 27 votes are not valid, I think we should know who they are and where they are.
That'll be corrected this meeting,
This
this election.
No rankle, because some people make mistakes and they're not aware of them.
Correct.
The feedback would be very helpful.
The signatures have to match the property appraiser's office. And if it's a husband and wife, either one can sign.
Well, get that, please
We'll
get
get-
that law.
Bill Amy will handle that for you.
I got a full workload, I'm happy to help, but I just
Yeah.
can't do all that.
Bill will get that to you,
So,
John.
send that to me, I'll put it in our newsletter. If you don't get the newsletter, in our newsletter is very non-partial. It's not negative, it's very positive, so it's got really important information in there. If you want it, you can get on that email list for the next 2 weeks.
Let me just add a comment. since
Excuse
Tom-
me, I signed up to speak, and apparently you're not calling
We're in
me
a
this.
break right now.
It seems unless you stand up and yell, nobody's gonna call you.
I have the list.
Using that list or not?
I have the list here, I read every name, so
Catherine Langhausen.
Yes.
we are in a recess, but we would address this once we... Okay, we will at the start...
Okay,
Please wait, because we're in recess. As soon as we re-adjourn, then we'll let you speak. I just want to make a point on, this is, we're in recess. I'm not sure if Scott's legal opinion about husband and wife is true. It may be, I'm just saying, in the interest of being absolutely correct, you probably ought to choose who that designated voter is and sign it that way. He may be legally right, but let's not take the chance, okay?
Well, we're gonna get
So,
him to send that to us.
Right.
The official thing, we'll send it out.
if you can verify that through the state or through an attorney, I'm just saying.
Yeah, if it's
I
on
think
the state
The prudent
side.
thing to do is have one, make sure they sign it. Make
It's
sure
also
everything-
legal if every owner signs it. If every owner signs your proxy, then you don't have to have a voter.
Scott's comment was husband or wife can sign. They don't have to have one as designated. Is that
That's what
legal?
it's saying.
If they have the same last name. That's what it's saying.
I'm not
Yes.
real, I've seen stuff about that.
So Scott or someone is gonna get that.
Bill Amy will handle
Put it in our
that.
newsletter, because, my husband travels 3 out of 4 weeks, he may not be there, he may not be able to sign it.
Yeah, all right, we're going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to this is the first meeting, this is still the members' meeting, and somehow Catherine Langhauser
Okay.
got passed over, my apologies.
Okay, we are the original owners. So it's been almost 30 years we've owned our unit. At every point since then that I remember, when a budget was taken, a vote for a budget was taken, it was always done on a Saturday. Now, I would like to know why this was changed to a Monday, which is an inconvenient day. It is an inconvenient spot. You don't even have enough chairs, and it's difficult to park. Is that the purpose, that you don't want people to come?
No.
There must be some reason for it.
Yeah.
Because if I look around, there aren't too many young people here. They're probably all working and can't come to the meetings.
Hey, I resemble that.
Hey, you're living in God's waiting room.
You've heard it alluded to earlier that 1 year ago, let me back up. It was normally a vote taken by the members at the annual meeting that is always held on a Saturday. Last year's annual meeting had a boycott of the budget. As a result, it didn't get a majority vote.
That is not a boycott.
It was not, there were not sufficient numbers of votes to pass the budget, okay? So, we are required, there are discrepancies between the declaration of the association and the articles of incorporation. And the board's position is the declaration takes precedent. We've gotten a legal opinion to that effect. So it was necessary for the board to take the initiative to pass a budget, or as somebody alluded to, we could, as an association, be fined $5,000 for not doing so. So we're taking the approach that we have passed the budget. What was being voted on by mail and or proxy here this morning is the moving forward excess funds, the level of the financial statements going forward, and the reserve amounts. That's all that was voted for.
I have one more comment, though. I've been active in many organizations, and I have never seen a meeting run as poorly as this particular meeting. Doesn't anyone read Robert's Rules of Order?
Well, we've
It's a
been
nightmare. This isn't a meeting, it's a
we've
screen
been at
nap.
recess for 45 minutes, and what has transpired is comments amongst the members, which I suppose they're entitled to do it whether it's in this room or out in the parking lot. So, but this meeting is back in order. That is the last speaker. The items before us are the vote for the lower level of year-end financial reporting. We do have a quorum. Let me just back up. 28 in attendance, 62 via proxy, so we've got 90. Which constitutes a quorum. Item A, vote for lower level of year-end financial reporting. It voted, it approved yes 69, no 14. The three items that you then voted on were reviewed, compiled, or receipts. Reviewed received 40 votes, compiled received 23 votes, and receipts received 7. So reviewed is passed. Item B is vote to apply excess membership income to subsequent tax year. Yes 83 votes, no 3. So that passed. And item C, vote to waive fully funding reserves. Yes 80%, no 7%. So we,
Those are totals.
I'm sorry.
Percent. That's not a percentage.
Oh, I did say 7, I'm sorry.
Yes.
80 votes, yes, waiving funding, fully funding, 7 no votes for fully funding. So that also passed. And that is the end of the business for this. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Yes.
No.
Hold on, he's making a comment now.
Real quick. I spoke to that wonderful lady from Jacksonville back over there, and she had a complaint, insulted. And listen to the votes here. 69, vast majority. 83, vast majority. 80, vast majority. There's no disagreements in this room. Okay, no, in terms of how to run these things. I'm not starting a debate, I'm just making an observation based on the
I
numbers.
understand the reason why.
I'm just making a comment. And my experience for 10 minutes back, ma'am, I forgot your name.
This is Joan.
Joan? My experience for 10 minutes with Joan was one of complete camaraderie and wanting to work things through, and you seem to have solved your problem. And I just think that maybe Joan should describe her experience or explain how she did it, or maybe we should all think a little bit more about getting along, because this vote here, there's no disagreement on paper. If I saw this on paper, I would think that this was lockstep.
Since you brought that up.
No, it was just a comment, I'm not going to debate it.
Mr. Bill Schaefer did a straw poll last year, and overwhelmingly, it was positive to do things like the email, like the ACH handling and all, but it wasn't done. It was overwhelming. Yeah, but it doesn't get done.
All right. Did you want to make another comment?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Yes, I did. Actually, two parts to it. One is, when we voted for number 3, or C, the funding, okay? The way it's structured, and that's why you got the votes, I believe, is that it's, do I shoot myself in the head, or do I shoot myself in the foot? There is nothing in there that says, I don't agree. Okay, there should be a third category that should have said, I don't agree. So people misunderstood this thing, you know, and they were fearful of the 100%, so they voted for the 25%. But on the other part of it is that even though we have now agreed and approved the 25%, we need to really clarify, which none of you have done yet, clarify the discrepancies between the remaining life, because that has changed the number significantly in how much money we have to pay each month. And so before we go further, we should really explain it. As a board, you should explain it. You owe it to us to explain it. Okay? It's our money.
The remaining life is a moving target in some cases, and as Julene pointed out, they're lumped together in groups. Excuse me. And it is a moving target. Certainly, to use an example that's been discussed, roofing. If you have no hurricanes last season, maybe you get a little bit more useful life. Things like that change. There was one error, and Marty Cohen caught it in the pool bulkhead where it went from 12 to 2, and that was a typo. And we are going to recalculate that to address that question.
Okay, but that was one category. But how did we go from 148 replacement years to 64? That's a major change.
Yeah.
You know, if you would have told me it went from 148 to 120, you know, based on things that are happening, I could understand that. But I can't understand going down to 64 replacement years.
Yeah.
Plus whatever you're going to fix it for. I don't know what that is.
And again, the only
But that, you know, and it doesn't make any sense to me. It makes no sense. From an accounting perspective, it makes no sense, because reserve is reserve, right?
Yeah.
Don?
Yes.
Can I just add some clarification on the reserve? As Gene knows, I've been pushing this for how many years? And in fact, the format you've got there is what I think I did 7 years ago. As background, I've done this professionally for about a dozen condominium complexes in St. Augustine. Okay, I am an engineer, and I've used my engineer license. I've done this. Okay. The original one, what we did.
You said engineer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
7 years ago, whatever it was partially based upon your rising information. So that was built into it. It's gotten away from us. There's no question we need to update some of our numbers. We need to update our costs. I'm glad to see you're going to do it in May, but unfortunately, that doesn't do anything for this year's budget. And I think I'm just adding what Zach is saying. You know, unless we have a valid reason for changing the estimate of the amount, the roof, or the year when we know something is failing and we had planned on it, we ought to keep what we have until we get new numbers. And unless you're going to have that for this year's budget, which you obviously aren't, let's keep what we have. What we got policies in it, but
What do you mean, what we have?
The old number.
Just do a consistent.
Unless we have a specific reason for change. And I have not, and I think this is what Zach is saying. We haven't heard that.
All we're saying is do a consistent reduction of the replacement value.
We will
That-
do a.
And instead of dropping it by 50%, then the numbers that we have to pay out of pocket would be less for this year. Then when you do your evaluation, if it comes in worse, well, then we gotta pay it again. Okay, but let's not assume it's gonna be bad. Let's do it the right way. Because it's gonna be based on a different formula.
That's common practice.
Since the reserve study is sitting out there after the fact, it would be a matter of going to the reserve levels that we established last year.
Well, it should be last year's reserves, less the depreciation of the year.
But some of those have changed.
Some of them may have changed by
Right.
2 years, you know.
So
flashings, the sheeting underneath the shingles. We have to get a consistent number or have someone give us a quote on the same
You need to
parameter.
Look, as a board, you
And
need
that's
to
what
make,
we're working on.
you need to make a
We're working on
definition.
it.
To do a good RFP.
We're working on it.
And then you should get some qualified people. And then you'll get the right answer.
I do have a last comment, and I will also make a motion. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, to your comments, Jolene.
Yeah.
You've got a membership of engineers and contractors who can take the bids that you're so confused about, and we can straighten them out and make sure that this development gets what it should get, and not any more and not any less.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
That was the last comment.
Thank you.
But it's our meeting.
No,
Mr.
but
Chairman.
we need that, another meeting.
What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
Please,
Mr. Chairman.
point of order, yes.
I move that we establish a committee to look at our roof replacement and include these engineers.
Yes.
It is unequal. Just a point of information, Mr. Chairman. We have on our agenda, one of the items is in here specifically states reserves. We are speaking reserves. I'm making a motion regarding the roof reserve that we get a committee to go get this done. That's all it is. That's my point of information.
Probably has to be ad hoc, but I think the state doesn't allow committees.
No, the state allows
Our
committees.
documents do not speak of committees.
Okay, so.
But
it
it's
ad
I don't know.
Yes, hold on, please, point of order.
This, you have to do things in order. So please get this in order.
I will amend my motion to state an ad hoc committee, including these engineers that have volunteered their time. An ad hoc committee,
I second.
okay? We have a second discussion.
I second.
This is a members meeting.
It's
up to the board to.
It is up to the board, but I think the sense of those here is probably such that it would be prudent just that ad hoc is ad hoc, you know the meaning of that.
Sure.
So you just, prudence probably says just,
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay.
now, ad hoc,
Yeah.
ad hoc means board.
Yeah.
Means what?
It's the board.
The board appoints the committee.
Oh.
That's what ad hoc. Excuse me, you know, there's a level of mockery that doesn't help the process. And the process, I know you flew down special to mock me, okay?
It's
But-
reality.
Yeah, I love you too. The reality is that ad hoc is a specific word, okay? It means temporary, for lack of a better, okay? Temporary committees, as described by Robert's Rules and the state of Florida, are appointed by the board. Now, the board has direction here, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, going, ha, doesn't help. We have an engineer who volunteered his time. We have a man back there who knows what he's talking about, it seems. And we have a gentleman up front here that made a good point of process. Okay, what part of that escaped everybody here?
The board.
Okay, well, why don't you wait till it doesn't happen, and then we can have a lynching?
But hold on just a minute.
Well, everybody, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm the only one that hasn't thrown it down.
Here's where it is, if you listen to my motion.
I know I heard your motion, I'm supporting your motion.
I know you are, just listen to the motion, it also said to include these engineers
Right.
here. So if
But-
it gets appointed, the board oversees an ad hoc committee. The ad hoc committee reports back to the board of their findings, and obviously the board.
Thank you for explaining what I just said.
That's it, that's it.
Okay.
You don't need to get upset. All I'm trying to
I'm not
say-
getting upset, I'm making it clear.
We have another meeting to get
You
to.
have more to say?
I'm going to allow one more
Can I just say one more
comment,
thing?
please,
We're
yes.
trying to diffuse all this.
That is exactly
So,
right.
okay, but everybody's got hot tempers and loud voices, and that's not how to do it. Madam President, I'm going to recommend to you as a homeowner that you consider adding these 3 people who have given their expertise in an effort to diffuse some of the owners feeling like they're not being heard. So in order to help bring peace to this community again, I'm asking you please to consider adding these 3 people and let us as homeowners know that you do have our best interests at heart and that you're hearing what we say. So that's my recommendation.
So we'll make a motion to add Kurt Musser, Jim Mohardis, and Marty Cohen to the ad hoc committee on roofing. Is there anybody else that wants to be involved?
I second the motion.
Bill Lane.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? There we go.
Thank
There,
you.
there may be more members, but we will definitely add those 4 individuals to the committee.
Thank you. All areas and see if it helps. Just a way to ask. That's what we need.
So the suggestion is that we ask the committee to meet prior to the annual meeting on May 17th, so that we can have some data available at that point. And assuming that works with everybody's schedules, we will pick a date
Now,
now.
an ad hoc
If-
committee
Assuming everybody has calendars.
has a secretary, it has a chairman.
Right.
Okay, so you guys get together, pick a secretary, get a chairman, I would record. Okay, just for good practice. And report via minutes, written minutes, to, I guess it's a member meeting at the time, it'll be to the board, but it'll be for the members. And it has to be done absolutely copacetic with the support data and your findings and things like that, because we have experts and professionals on this committee now, so it needs to be an expert and professional. This isn't me sitting around talking about roof, because I don't know anything about roofs, but I figured you do. So it has to be a real report.
That's understandable.
Would you be the secretary? So Bill Amy has agreed to be the secretary for that committee. So make sure he's there.
We can repeat again who's on it.
Jim Portis, Kurt Musser, Marty Cohen, and Bill Amy.
Message from Stacy. You can say read it for
And I'll get to the board. Yeah, well, that'll be. Are we throwing dates out?
Yeah.
I know this is putting you on the spot.
Why don't us 4 after the meeting quickly just...
I don't know what the rules are, you may want to bounce this off the board attorney. I don't know what the rules are for notice. I don't know if you have to notice, I don't know if
I
that's...
think we do.
We probably should.
The ad hoc.
I think we
Okay,
do.
all right.
So you have to give, I believe, 48 hours notice of the meeting, at a
We
minimum
posted it.
posted here.
If you follow
So,
that, then you don't get
just
anything.
let us know what date you settle on as soon as you can, okay? Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, this meeting is adjourned. We're going to take 3 minutes, and then we'll adjourn the board meeting immediately after. So break the board meeting in 1 minute.
Well, my mom and dad bought the condo when it was...
Everybody here that wants to be here? Is there anybody here that doesn't?
The board meeting to approve the budget. turning the meeting over to John Clayton, our treasurer.
All right, we've established we have a quorum. Proof of notice was posted. We are not going to address any minutes in this meeting. Save those for a future date. New business is the adoption of the 2014-2015 budget. I think we've hashed it over. I will open the floor up for 3 or 4 minutes if there are other questions.
I have a question. And Julene, in the back pool area, do we have an issue with fence as a result of an insurance company stating we needed to replace the fence? Because the line item for the lagoon pool area, the line item jumped up in the reserve line, I mean, more than $30,000, and but the special projects didn't. So are we facing something we have to do this year?
We've got 4 bids to put a fence around the inside area of the Phase 2 pool. We have 4 bids. One of them came in at $6,978, and the highest one was $14,123, I believe. 4 bids, 2 in between. We're going with Hardwick Fence because they're local and with their business reputation.
And
they were the low bidder.
And so, to the question though, that's where I was coming. So is that something that the insurance company or somebody told us we had to do, hence, that's why it bumped up? And I was just questioning what was put into the reserves as opposed to just using the special project line for this year's budget side of it.
The special project line was just something temporary that was put in the budget last year to separate a regular line item for maintenance and repairs and supplies. With all of these other things like the beach gate and sand removal, they were not line items. They were not regular expenses that we normally have. We don't have a special work project in this budget.
Okay, no,
and that's the reason we went with a contingency line item. So that any of these extraneous things that crop up through the year can be handled in that manner. But the fence around the Lagoon 2 pool will come out of reserves.
Okay, I was just wondering though, it appears to Zach's question about bumping it up, that we bumped something up. Just to me, just looking at it, it makes it look like we were woefully underfunded in that particular one.
We're woefully underfunded in almost every category, sir.
All righty, so ma'am, if that's the case, my question is, if we needed something this year, why was it not put in the operating budget as opposed to the reserves and just pull what was
Because we
in the
didn't
reserves?
find out about it until after the budget was, the budget has to be prepared going back to February. That,
Okay.
I mean,
But so
there's,
For us people that don't know anything,
Yeah.
what is the money for? And why are we doing it? That's the question. Why are we doing it?
Talking about the pool?
The fence, yeah, there's a fence there now, so why are we?
because our insurance company recommended it.
I think it was mandatory, right?
Right, it was mandatory that we, I mean, to get the coverage
We have
that we
exposure.
had, we had to redo the fence around the Phase 2 pool.
For what reason, just so I understand?
It was mandated by the insurance.
But I mean, the fence is solid, so why do we have to?
Not in their minds, it wasn't.
Zach, we had to agree, last year Scott presented something about that fence that he was asked to go out and check some things. And while he was out there doing this project for the board, we determined that there might be some exposure because the fence can be caved in. The vertical stanchions on the bench, on that fence are about like this.
So if somebody did some research, that's okay.
Our insurance would have been higher
Okay.
without the
Yeah,
fence.
I got it.
I'm just
All right.
questioning the whole line item. That's all.
I'm going to take 2 more comments, all right?
Okay, this is not a-
No, but
this is about-
Marty held his hand up first, so.
We're talking about the budget overall?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I think there's one sentiment here that raised concern about the amount of raise. What is it, and I have 2 questions, but first, what is the actual percentage of raise that you're advocating for our employees?
It varies.
It's not, well, it's 19% overall.
Right.
2 years ago, we had an employee that injured his back. He made a workman's comp claim.
That's not
It
my
was
question.
just settled.
She's just giving you the overview.
It was just settled within the last month, month and a half. We had to keep his position open. To fill in his space, there was no one to replace him for several months. Then we hired a part-time person, and then Brett, who works on Sundays to clean our pools, is also part-time. We have 2 full-time personnel, and we have 2 part-time personnel. We need more hours out of our part-time people. So we figured, that's figured in the budget, as well as a raise for our employees who richly deserve
How
a
much,
raise.
could you tell us how much raise they're getting?
The hourly for one went up $6 an hour for our
Went
I
up
know it
6.
was about 5.
$5 an hour.
But what is that in percentage? Do we know?
Okay. When,
I'm in favor of giving people raises, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm just not in favor of giving them raises.
We went through a survey of the marketplace and,
I mean, you have, it's on the table there.
That's like blah.
it called from $20 to $24 an hour raise. So you can do that percentage. The,
For the
Are
men.
you giving them the raise based on the survey?
No.
No. A number of factors. It had been flat for a number of years because of the recession. We tend to
We're
stick
still
to
in a
farm, but,
recession.
well, I would like to respectfully think we're coming out of it based on,
We're not.
well, I've attended a webinar this past week that said we are, but I can understand why some people would think we're not. It's a debatable thing. The other thing is, just 1 second, please. The other thing is, in the compensation study, most people that are in the position we've got here get some health benefits we don't provide any. So it's a combination of things that led us to decide to move this raise. Marty?
All right, let me rephrase this, I didn't really get an answer. I would suggest that at this point, we look at a 5% raise. Seems to me, even though we have not given any raises for, I don't know how many years, 5% raise is more than sufficient in this day and age. All right, secondly, I don't know when we stop giving anything toward medical, because I know we did provide them some before that, but that's another thing.
No,
Okay,
never.
let me just comment, okay. My recommendation would be a 5% raise. Okay? Second thing, and this is the question, we've talked about reserves ad nauseum here this morning. I would suggest we rework the reserve based upon the 3 things that I pointed out to you in my letter, which is a reasonable roof estimate, correcting the life of the pools, railing fences, and the lagoon bulkhead, correcting that.
Okay.
And whatever that comes out, then fine.
Claudia? This is the last comment.
Okay, also, the lagoon pool,
Mhm.
years ago, I forget if it was 2 or 3 years ago, the inspector came and he said there was not enough lighting around the pool to see.
Mhm.
Okay, till to today, nothing has been done, it's still dark there. You talk about a lawsuit about with the fence, you're gonna have even a bigger one the other way.
Which pool are you talking about?
Lagoon pool, this one right there.
Billy Ray, you gave us
The
a
other one is-
presentation on it, you know the background.
I had all kind of plans drawn up for it. I wanted it lit up to be the most spectacular pool in the
And what happened?
And the people down at City Hall told me that any lighting would affect the turtles and therefore...
Shoot, it got nothing to do with the turtles. This is the one over here. It's surrounded by buildings.
The one at the ocean pool.
That's the lagoon pool, right here.
The exercise we went through for insurance this past year, post-fire, is going to have us addressing a number of things, including lighting. So that is definitely on our agenda to look at.
Is that on?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Again, it may be mandated. All right, I know other people want to make comments, but this is a board meeting. We're going to call it here. So the issue is adopting the 2014-15 budget. We've agreed that we're going to move the reserves down to what they were last year. and I talked with Gene between the two meetings, it's somewhere about $70 per month, per unit. The budget we're going to vote on here is $380, so I'm guesstimating $450 will be the monthly amount going forward. Okay. So having said that, yes, we need to make a motion to adopt the 2014-15 budget. Do I have that?
There are no more questions on the budget?
It's a board meeting, so.
Okay, do we need to make a motion that we want to go back?
Did you have, Zach, I'm sorry, do you have another question?
No, that's fine.
I've cut other people off.
Because, you know, it's just unfortunate because what we talk about today is what you're gonna send out to the ownership. And yet, it's an opportunity for you to hear what people say, and it helps you put out something that's most likely gonna get passed.
Right.
Rather than not get passed.
That's why I said in the first meeting, we were talking about everything for vote. Excuse me.
I mean, because there's things that we just don't understand. And when you don't understand something, it just makes it difficult to say, I approve this budget.
I make a motion that we adopt the reserve funding that we had for last year, which would be the 2013-14 budget, which I believe was around $70, which will be added to the regular budget, the reserve funding.
Right. All right, so we're just, we're putting the motion in place to do what we just talked about last week.
Okay.
Second, and all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Yeah.
Doesn't count. All right, passed.
Can you say that again, please?
I stated it earlier that your votes will not be counted in the minutes.
Everybody, hear that?
All right, so.
Why are the votes counted?
Because they're technically not on the board.
Why
We
not?
voted them there.
We don't know why.
We voted them there.
We're not going to have this discussion. There is pending arbitration, and the lawyer handles any comments from the board at this point. So we have amended.
We voted them in, excuse me, we voted them in. How can you three people knock them off?
This is not a discussion we're going to have. It is not germane to the budget. I made a statement at the beginning of the last meeting. It is if they can't vote.
It is?
I'm sorry, it is not.
May I ask a question why you have not co-opted replacements? In that you dismissed them from the board and we need a board of 5. Why did you not co-opt other members, as was Jolene co-opted when a board member departed?
Yeah. All right. I'll answer this question and then we're moving on to the agenda before us, which is the budget. We determined that it was better to let people vote, that we would be appointing somebody for, by the time we had another board meeting, we'd be appointing somebody for what would amount to maybe 60 days. We didn't think that made any sense for somebody to be appointed, and we thought it should be up to 138 owners to vote.
Don't you think it should be the membership that decides that, not just 3 board members?
No, in the documents, the board has the right to approve, okay? We're going back to the agenda. So we've agreed to adopt a new reserve number. Do I have a motion to accept the 2014 budget as amended per the reserve amount?
I so moved.
We have a second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that is passed.
This is illegal. This is all illegal. It's just doing
You know, this
what-
meeting will be dismissed because once arbitration goes
You
through.
call yourself a free country and you do this? Gee, where's yours?
Actually, from a procedural point of view, if you want to talk about this dispute that's outside the law, the procedural point of view on this is their votes could easily be recorded, but since they don't change the outcome, the legal thing moves forward, and there really is no topic of disagreement other than that which is legal, and that's not this room.
But it's valid.
It's valid if you feel it is, but the actual point of view is that their votes, it was a 3-2 vote. There is no actual difference in outcome here. So it's not illegal.
It was not for two votes.
John, was that a passing of the budget for the reserve only, or?
No,
The entire budget? But there were other motions on the floor that weren't considered, like changing the salaries to 5%.
Right, right. And we're not changing that at this point. That's been voted on. Okay. Do we have?
No, we don't count.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion we adjourn.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
For what?